Good Sunday afternoon, high school sports fans. Joe Gilloway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports, and this is our Week 2 high school football recap show. We have three now, maybe a fourth joining us. Guests joining us today who will be helping us make this ride a little bit smoother. We're going to talk a couple of really big games, namely Harrisburg and McDevitt. And these guys were there watching it either in person or live while it was being played on TV. And I'll bring them in as soon as we thank those responsible for bringing you today's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. They are Rickabah's Electric, Payor Apparel, Ted's Bar and Grill, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Tonino's Pizza, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Sam Hartley Decking, Lingelstown American Legion Post 272, Hoffman Ford, the Tire Mart, Modern Imprint, Capital Region Insurance Agency, and Underdog Sports Bar and Grill. Thanks to all those great local businesses. Upcoming on episode 8, our 8th podcast, this coming Tuesday. This is kind of like an add-on podcast we're doing. We have a regular podcast every week, but this is going to be our first Legends series show. Jimmy Jones from John Harris and USC, Canadian Football League, I think Ottawa Rough Riders, but we have Jimmy Jones committed Tuesday at 7. Please check that out. I'm so excited about that. And then we also upcoming, I have Coach Cal Everett and some of his players going to join us in the next couple of weeks. Coach Irby and a couple of his Steel High guys. And then again, next Sunday night, hopefully we'll get these guys back. We're going to do this recap show every Sunday. So we're going to start today's show discussing the same topic as we started last week's show, Harrisburg Cougars football. And after that, we'll go around the greater Harrisburg area, District 3, and statewide to break down some of the games of significance from week 2. So I'll bring in our guests. We have 3 of them here today, and I think that's going to suffice unless we pick up our 4th. Travis Waters is back. Travis, thank you.
You're welcome.
We got Ben Dupree. He's worked with us before on a basketball game. Ben, I know you were there yesterday, and I know that you're very qualified to talk high school football, that's for sure. And then, so thank you for joining us. And then Terry Clark Jr., the late ad. I was so excited when I got your text. I've been bugging Terry for 2 years, right? Since last football season. Yo, you got to get on my show. We got to collaborate. And I was telling the guys before you stepped in here, I think you're just kind of a humble guy, and you're just not the kind of guy that likes to, put yourself out there and maybe, run your mouth like we do. But I think you're very good at it, and you moderate the Pennsylvania High School Football Forum page on Facebook, and I think you do a very good job there. Keep things kind of like nobody arguing, and you don't take sides, and so you do a great job there. So let's jump right into it. Harrisburg 35, Bishop McDevitt 33 at Rocco Hortensia Stadium in overtime. Let me start with Ben. You were at the game. Was everybody at the game live?
I was.
I was not.
I was not. I watched it on TV. I'm injured. I'm on the shelf. I got like a full muscle under my rib cage.
Yeah,
I can't.
I had to walk about 15 minutes to my car. I parked
Did you really?
minutes away.
Hey man, we beat the traffic. I knew the traffic was crazy.
We're going to talk about the traffic a little bit. Yeah, that's
why I walked 15 minutes. I prefer walking for 15 minutes.
An
hour.
To the neighborhood, right across the street.
Yeah, I parked in the neighborhood. I knew better.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah, so I didn't know better because I tried not to go there because my last experience, but I think that might be my last game.
You think like, oh wow, I got a spot right near the stadium. You think that's where you want to be.
No,
that's not where you want to be.
It's not at all.
Not right. So Harrisburg coach Calvin Everett avoids going 0-3 or 0-2. I'm sorry. He's only done it twice in his career. Once was his first season ever in 2011. Finished 1-9, just kind of getting his feet wet and figuring things out in his first season. And then again in 2013, he started 0-2. And it looked like there was a very good chance, whoever you had in that game, whoever you projected to win, there was a chance that McDevitt could have won that game yesterday. So, I think it's a big deal that they won the backyard brawl, that they came back from, a big loss against LaSalle. but you don't want to start 0-2, right? And that might have been for the Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division too, even though it's only week 2. Ben, tell us a little bit about what you saw out there yesterday.
Well, first off, I knew Harrisburg was going to be better than they were the first game. I knew Coach Cowan was going to make some type of adjustments, but I didn't know if it was going to be enough, and I didn't know who was going to win, honestly. But what I seen early, it was a dogfight. Nobody it was 6-3 with like a minute left in the game before McDevitt went down and scored at the end of the half. So Harrisburg mustered up one big play really in that first half. They got him a touchdown. And then McDevitt, they were moving the ball, but they couldn't punch it in. And then in the second half, McDevitt started the half up by 4, and they got a good quick return. And then they scored, and they went up 17-6. And then Harrisburg scored in one play.
Yeah,
And then McDevitt got the ball. Yeah, then McDevitt
80
got
yards
the ball
by
Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then McDevitt gets the ball. They're driving again. They don't score. Then Harrisburg gets the ball. They score one play again.
Yep.
So it was crazy because McDevitt was moving the ball, but they wasn't punching it in, and Harrisburg was scoring without moving the ball.
Right.
So McDevitt dominated time of possession early.
Yeah.
Yes.
That doesn't tell the whole story, though, does it?
No,
it doesn't.
That's what I'm saying. Then the fourth quarter was a game in itself. So,
I think we need to mention that arguably, I'm not saying this for sure, but arguably Harrisburg's best 2 players, Kevin Brown has got to be one of their best top players, and Deontay Sheffy. Again, I'm not sitting here trying to put him in front of anybody else. Maybe 2 of the 3. Let's throw Coke in there for sure, but 2 of their better players were out. Right? Did Sheffy play?
Sheffy
I saw Sheffy on the field.
He played a few snaps.
He played like a quarter, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That's when I stopped seeing him. Maybe after the first quarter or something.
Yeah.
No, he played because he gave up the touchdown at the end of the first half.
At the end of the half, before the end of the second quarter, he gave up the touchdown. Yeah.
Okay.
But he didn't play spot. He didn't play a whole lot.
He played in the second half too, though. I know he played in the second half on defense. Yeah, he didn't get no carries though.
So I think he probably came in on nickel. Because he didn't play a whole lot. And I think that was the big thing. Harrisburg made adjustments from last week. They really didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback again, but the secondary was much better.
Yes.
So the McDevitt's quarterback had time to throw, but there was nowhere to go oftentimes. So what I noticed, what they did, they moved Chimera back to safety. Chimera Williams back inside. And they moved Sheffy outside, and I don't know who number 15 is, but he played a heck of a game at corner.
He did play well. Play well.
And I never saw the kid before. Their secondary was much, much better.
Looked like the Harrisburg D-backs were kind of keeping everything in front of them. I mean, they were obviously
right. They did their job.
Yeah, a lot of McDevitt's passing game, and they didn't have, I think, 132 yards passing. That's nothing for Stone Saunders. We're just kind of little 6-8 yard outs. Maybe some screens and stuff, and they didn't get behind. Ben, you're D-back too. I mean, you were a quarterback, but talk about that bend don't break kind of D-back approach.
Yeah, like the DB just trying to stay on top. But there was a play in the second half when the receiver got behind the defense, but Stone he kind of overthrew it a little bit. I think he was a little bit late with that one, but I mean, it was they kept everything in front of them, Harrisburg DBs. I do like. I thought McDevitt ran the ball well, though.
They did.
They definitely ran the ball very well, and at times they were kind of gashing them. But Harrisburg bend but don't break. Once the field got shorter, they couldn't punch it in.
McDevitt had 222 yards rushing. They had 50 from Nazir Jones Davis, 150. I'm sorry. From Jones Davis, and then 50 from Maurice Barnes. So there's 200 just in those 2 players. And then they had Saunders another 18 yards. That's just from probably scrambling around and stuff. So they did get some yards on the ground.
And that Nazir Jones, he got a lot of yards after contact.
Yeah,
right.
He was tough to bring down. He got a lot of yards. They had him tackle for a loss for a couple of times, and he made something happen.
Wasn't that Travis? Wasn't that kind of? It didn't end up part of the story, but wasn't part of the story for a good portion of the game that Harrisburg's tackling wasn't what it typically is? They looked like they were arm tackling, and
they missed some tackles.
I'm not taking any toughness away from them. They're
Yeah.
tough kids, okay? I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying that they weren't tough. But it just looked like a lot of times the McDevitt running backs were bumping off of them and stuff like that.
Right.
Those backs are big though. Reese
Yeah,
Barnes
they're
is solid 200 pounds.
yeah,
The
and he's
other
like
guy,
6'1".
yeah,
Yeah,
the other guy
he's a nice
is-
size.
Yeah,
But
so-
I think a lot of that was also part of Harrisburg's game plan as far as bend don't break defense. They were fine with giving up the rushing yards. They just didn't want Stone to kill them. Essentially beat them like LaSalle's quarterback beat them up in the secondary the
Right.
week before. So I think that was the big adjustment that they made, and ultimately it worked.
Yeah, and you know, I have to say that I didn't know too much about Jayon Lewis, and I think it was kind of a quote unquote stars born game, because I don't think that can be luck. You know what I mean? When I say a star is born, I think he's on the map now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
No,
He's
he flashed last week though, because he
He
actually
did.
caught the touchdown. He caught the
Yep.
touchdown.
Right,
last
I was
week.
going to mention that.
he is a wide receiver converted to quarterback.
Swiss Army knife.
He's
I
a
like to call
safety
him.
too. I think he played safety last year too. Safety and some corner last year. I knew the athlete he was. He plays basketball as well. He's a heck of a athlete on the basketball court. But he reminded me. So he plays like Sean Lee Jr.
Mhm.
And I think that was the difference. Like last week, the young man, he could throw the football, but he's a drop back passer. They didn't have to account for him in the running game.
Right.
You have to account for him. You have to account for him. And I think Danny Lanzan actually did a really good job. I think people were saying, well, why would you leave Coke one-on-one? But from what you saw against LaSalle College, you didn't think Harrisburg could get him the ball. So in the first half, they did a great job, and they just stacked the box and wouldn't let Harrisburg run. But then Harrisburg was able to actually, okay, we trust Jayon, and he came through for them.
What about Coke? I mean, they were kind of hanging all over him, and he still, what did I say? He got 155 yards on 6 receptions, and it could have been way worse if they weren't kind of, a couple pass interference calls and probably a couple that they got away with. I mean, that could have easily been a 200-yard game for Coke, right?
Easily. I mean,
the one time Jalen, he missed him. He had him open. He missed him. Would have been another like an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and he is a 4-star recruit for a reason.
right.
I mean, and he clearly showed that.
He just kind of, to me, just kind of goes about his business. He's not like overly flashy. I mean, I just like the way that Coke plays.
I like how he plays defense too. Like he doesn't play defense scary. Like he's aggressive.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a receiver or he's an offensive player playing defense, but he does it with heart.
Yeah, he's an athlete, and that's why he's out there on defense for sure. What about?
I think one of the biggest stories to me was Harrisburg's offensive line without Kevin Brown.
Yeah,
I think they gave it 1 sack, from what I remember.
That's incredible.
They gave Jayon Lewis time to throw, and if they can do that and throw the ball, you're not going to be able. You're going to see Harrisburg rushing for a lot more yards moving forward here.
Yeah, that's a great point, Travis, because especially considering what McDevitt's defense did
9 sacks
before. They had 9 sacks.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and now they have 10, so they didn't add to it too much, right? And I think that was in the second half, maybe. I do remember one of the guys in the booth saying, that they had 9 the first week, and that was their 10th, right after it happened. I didn't see another one after that.
Nope.
What about the decision? And we're not gonna finish this out, but I didn't like the play call on the 2-point conversion attempt for McDevitt at the very end.
No, I liked it.
He got to make it
He was open. He was open.
Wide open, but
he was open. He just missed the throw. 9 out of 10. Put it like this: I was like 9 out of 10 chances Stone makes that throw.
I don't mind it going in the flat like that, but that just kind of deep.
It was actually in the end zone. It was in the end zone.
It was deep in the flat, or deep in the corner there.
I think if he would have just threw it on the line quick, it was an easy touchdown. But he held it. He held it, and then he just.
You're right. You're right.
Just overthrew it. But he was there. It was a good call. I thought it was. It was there.
Now I can easily be wrong, especially when I'm talking about it with you guys and the offensive coordinator for McDevitt. I'm sure he knows his personnel. Is that Lansana?
No,
I
he's a
think
defense
West-
Or at least
coordinator.
Lance Stanton's a defense
Yeah, he
coordinator.
just
Yeah.
does a
Oh,
good job
Wechter
on
calls
defense.
the offense, right?
Yeah, Danny does a great job on defense.
Yeah. I'm
Can I-
sorry. Yeah.
Can I step back a little bit to
Sure.
when Harrisburg tied it and converted the 2-point conversion to push it to overtime?
Yes.
So the very first play, everyone knew what Harrisburg was going to do. They were going to throw the fade to Elias. I mean, if you watch the game from last year when they played Manheim Township,
They did
same
it twice.
situation. They did it twice though.
Yeah.
I knew that's what they were going to do. And they did it. And the kid from McDevitt, he did it right. If I'm Lance Santa, I'm telling you straight up, like if you get uncomfortable, make sure he don't catch it. I don't
Right.
care if you gotta get a flag on a play or whatever. Just make sure he doesn't catch it. I would rather Harrisburg attempt to run it up the gut because with Elias out there on the island like that, especially McDevitt's corners this year, they're smaller. So 9 tenths out of 10, Elias is going to win that battle, regardless of who's out there, because he's just that talented. But it just worked out perfectly for Harrisburg. You know, they got the flag, moved it up, and then quarterback punched it in.
Went from 3 yards to 1.5 yards. And the other thing is, just supporting what you just said, sometimes you can get away with it, and the officials won't make that pass interference call. So, yeah,
I don't think they had a choice. They didn't have a choice.
No choice. The McDevitt guy was kind of like,
It was like four
I
of
am
them. That was
interfering.
like the fourth one,
Yeah.
the third or fourth one.
Yeah, he kind of advertised it like that he was interfering, you know. But yeah, that was just what Harrisburg wanted. That if they couldn't get the ball to Coke, now we're only 1.5 yards out, and by that point in the game, they had a lot of confidence that they could bang the ball across from 1.5 yards. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
So, was that I just was texting with a friend of mine, a McDevitt grad, who's a big McDevitt football fan, and he thought that kind of, and not to take anything away from Cal and his guys, because he never would, this guy, but he thought it was a bad loss for McDevitt. Like, was that a bad loss?
That is a bad loss.
Because
that's a bad loss.
Not every time you lose a game is it a bad loss. You know, you could say, man, we left it all out there. We did our best. That was a really good team, and it was a really good Harrisburg team yesterday. But he still thinks it was a bad loss for McDevitt.
I'm not sure if I would say it was a bad loss, but I think it's a game coming into the game that majority of the people felt McDevitt should win, considering the circumstances going on with Harrisburg, especially, you know, with Kevin Brown being out and getting hurt Thursday.
Right.
You know, I was still on the fence, and then that happened. Then I was like, oh man, like I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, you know, especially thinking, you know, what McDevitt's D line did the week prior. I was like, with no Kevin Brown, I was like, oh my gosh, that's gonna be tough.
They had a little bit of time to pivot to kind of make adjustments for the Sheffy injury, because that happened a week prior.
Right.
Actually, exactly a week from Saturday to Saturday. But you're right. I mean, you know, when that happens, pretty much a day and a half before the game, you're really kind of on the fly to make your adjustments, you know?
Yeah, I'll say this. I can see where someone might say it's a bad loss. Again, like Terry said, because of the injuries. You lose Kevin Brown, you know, from I heard it was like the last play of the practice or something. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard it was the last play of practice. And you know, you know, Fridays, you know, you're doing pregame. Yeah. So that's a huge loss, and you would think that, okay, if McDevitt's going to be the number 2 team or number 1 or number 2 team in the conference, you do want to win that game. But at the same time, I think it shows you, you know, how coach, you know, the quality of coaching that's going on over there at Harrisburg, and the talent that they have on that team, and the confidence that they have in each other. And of course, Jayon Lewis, you know, I knew he was the athlete that he was. I didn't know he could throw the football as well as that. I knew he could throw it. They're going to be a problem. I mean, if they can open people up like that, and you got to worry about their passing game, they're going to be a big problem for folks.
Yeah, it was kind of, I guess the one reason that it was kind of McDevitt's to lose, let's say it that way. I thought Harrisburg was kind of playing with house money. I'm sure Cal Everett would disagree with me and tell me I'm full of crap, but you're playing at home. The players are injured. You know, Brown's out. Sheffy was obviously hobbled. You know, he wasn't at 100%. We know that. He wasn't getting the ball on offense. It just seemed like, to me, the stars were lined up a little bit for McDevitt. Like,
It was. It
Yeah,
was.
yeah. My thing is, I say it's a bad loss because I just figured that McDevitt were the favorites coming in, and I
Yeah,
think
they
if
were.
you're the favorite and you lose, it's a bad loss. And then plus going back, what the game is about, like the city, as far as getting kids coming to your program, all that compete. I mean, next year they're gonna play again, and whatever happens, everybody's gonna forget about today probably. But for this year, that game might have some kids might decide to go stay in their home school instead of going to whatever. You never know. Like in my opinion, if you're the favorite and you lose, it's a bad loss. But Harrisburg's not a bad team. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they four-peat for districts in
Yep.
6A. So I won't. They're not a bad team, obviously, but to be up to win the time of possession like that and to come up short, that hurts.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I can I step in real quick?
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you pointed that out about as far as them potentially four-peating, because I think after Saturday's performance, I think they pretty much let the rest of the district know that 6A still runs through Harrisburg, and I think they made that clear that it does. So
Well,
Probably.
Mahon Township looked good versus Central
they
York
do,
last week. I mean,
they
we all
do.
know.
But yeah, we'll get to that because I do
Yeah,
want to
we
talk
will
about
get
that
to
game.
that. I want to talk about that Declan
Yeah, but
Clancy
I
once we do.
I just think it's like Kansas City, Kansas City Chiefs. You got to let me see someone beat them, and then I'll say that 6A doesn't run through Harrisburg as far as the district is
That's a
concerned.
great point, Travis. Whenever I have friends ask me, who do you like in the NFL this year? I say the Chiefs. Like, oh, come on. And then they start talking about all these other teams. I said, you
So
kind of have
me
to
too.
beat them. You have to beat them. What do they won? 3 out of 4, maybe? I don't know, but they've won a lot.
And
Yeah, I think it's 3 out of 5.
if
Yeah,
Jalen
3 out of
Lewis does what
5.
he does at quarterback, they're the most talented team
Oh,
in district
my.
district
And
three.
all that's doing is giving him confidence. Um, so yeah, we're not gonna sit here and I asked about what kind of a loss that was for McDevitt. And obviously, it stings, especially after the way their season ended last year. I
Mhm.
have a friend that's on the staff at McDevitt, and he told me privately, and I won't use his name, and he wasn't really being nasty at all about it, but he's like, he goes, we couldn't believe that Dallas lost. It was just one of those heartbreaking, painful. You looked around and you said, what the heck happened here? One of those kind of losses. He's like, there's no way we should have lost that game. Everything that went wrong for us did. And it was them, that McDevitt that was the reason that things went wrong, and that was last year. But that's 2 kind of tough losses out of 3 games now for McDevitt. They probably want to get back on track, and they're going to win a lot of games in the Commonwealth Division. Who do you guys see?
Well, hold on. Before you start acting about that, that's the good thing. They're in the Commonwealth now, so they'll get multiple chances to win and go against good teams and get a chance to pull it out. Like,
Yeah,
we all know they haven't been tested in the regular season. So if you don't get tested all regular season, and then all of a sudden you get to the game before the state championship versus Dallas, a tough team, you don't know what your team gonna do. Like, you might not know, but now they get the Rumble versus Harrisburg, and then they'll Rumble versus State College, they'll Rumble versus East,
Mhm.
and they'll be in the 5A district championship probably versus somebody, and a chance to play for states again against Roman Catholic or somebody. So
And maybe Cumberland Valley will come around. I mean, they won 35-0 against Carlisle, but they kind
that
of
was
got
expected.
they kind of got thrown around a little bit in week 1, I thought, against Manheim Township. But Ben,
Man,
to your point, they're going to be challenged a handful of times where in a typical season playing out of the Keystone, they're not really challenged at all. Maybe once or twice a decade against Cedar Cliff.
Yeah,
right,
but
Yeah,
but
under
they're
no
a good team
circumstances,
though.
under no circumstance should they be playing Paul Meyer or whoever. That's just,
yeah, Lower
yeah.
Dawson,
I
Mitchell
mean,
County.
that just
I
shouldn't
mean,
happen.
Joe knows I was a big proponent of McDevitt never should have been removed from the Commonwealth. Like
Mhm.
football wise, they should have never ever been removed. There was
Right.
just literally no reason. I get it with the classification, but they should have been an exception.
I think Cedar Cliff's going to struggle a little bit because Central Dolphins really bad, and Cedar Cliff wasn't able to close them out until overtime. And CD was up, and this isn't. I'm not trying to say CD played a great game, but I'm saying that Cedar Cliff struggled against one of the worst teams and barely beat them. I don't know if Cedar Cliff is the right fit for the Commonwealth like McDevitt is. What do you guys think?
Well, they're 6A now, so like
Mhm.
I guess they gotta come up. I don't know. There's some. Well, I know Mifflin County 6A and they went down. I think.
They needed to.
No, they're 5A now.
Traditionally,
They are
They're
5A.
Oh, the five. Oh,
Oh,
all
they're
right.
officially
So
5A now? Okay. Yes, they
Yeah.
are. That's right.
What about Mechanicsburg? They're 6A in some sports. Are they 6A in football or no?
Not yet. They're still
No.
5A.
They're going to be though. I mean, that
Soon.
school's growing
Yeah,
and growing.
they
they
will
So
be.
welcome to the Commonwealth, buddy.
what
Here's the
I
thing with
will,
Cedar Cliff. Here's the thing with
Hey.
Cedar Cliff. Traditionally, Cedar Cliff is a Commonwealth member.
yes, they
Yeah,
are, and they used to win it. I mean, years ago,
Yeah.
a couple decades ago, they used to, kind of before Cumberland Valley like took over there.
Well, I
Cumberland Valley,
remember Kyle Brady, Coy Wire, all those guys. So
Yeah.
they had some good football teams. And
I
school was
think-
smaller at the time.
I think Cedar Cliff this year, potentially, I mean, there was a lot of talk. Like, they brought back some guys. They brought back their line.
They got a big line.
They were expected to come in and be in the top half of the Commonwealth. And I was one of the guys that said, it's not going to be that easy. It's just not. I didn't see them being in that top half. I seen them right in the middle. And after the CD overtime win, knowing that CD's kind of like in a rebuilding phase right now.
that was very kindly put there.
Rebuilding phase.
Yeah.
I
I
still
never
think
seen
they're
CD. I
right
never
there.
seen CD that bad. I guess the way how Joe making it seem like them, he's making it seem like CD's like the last
CD
place team.
No, I
Yeah.
think they'll win a
No,
few
they'll-
games.
they'll
They'll win a
beat-
few games.
They'll beat
Well,
They
Carlisle.
already
They'll
won it.
yeah.
They already won a game. They already got a
Pittsburgh.
game up. So I think you're going to see some blowouts in the Commonwealth, though.
Yeah.
You're going to see
Absolutely.
pretty bad blowouts. Because you think
East,
of
what about East?
Well,
Fuck
East plays Cedar Cliff. East plays Cedar Cliff this
Yes.
week, so we get to see what Cedar
Yes,
Cliff.
so that's gonna tell a lot. That game
About
right there is
Cedar
gonna tell
Cliff.
a lot.
Yeah.
I think East is going to be able to close out a couple games maybe this year
Absolutely.
that they
Oh,
haven't been able to in the last. There's one thing to improve and win a few games, but there's another thing to be able to close big games out, right? I mean,
You're going to be the top. You're going to be the top three, possibly top 3-4 teams in the
Yeah.
Commonwealth.
Yep. I think preseason wise, I had East at 4, right behind Cumberland Valley. No, State College. Sorry,
State
Yeah, I
College
had
is good right now. though.
I had
State
them
College is
over.
good.
I had them over Cumberland Valley. East.
that's how I had them. Yeah, that's how I had 'em.
I think at this point it's kind of hard to tell how some of the teams that had blowout wins. I don't
Yes.
know how good they are just quite yet because I think you're seeing a big disparity in some teams, and there's some teams that really are that bad that you beat them 50-0, but we really don't know if you're a good team because that team really is that bad or
Right.
down this year. So
Yeah, I agree about that. So, yeah, I mean, the only reason I don't love this realignment, and I get it. I think Ben, you mentioned that you got to bring all the 6A schools together, is because some of those non-league games were nice.
Yeah. I agree.
When you would get Harrisburg would always get like a cool game, like maybe a cross-state game, from a Whitfield team or. And then Central Dauphin, they were playing like Manheim Township every year, home and home. Central York, Wilson, they would play the same 3 teams every year, and they became rivalries, and they weren't even in the same county. And we're losing that, And once Mechanicsburg comes in, and I don't know when that's going to happen, but they're very close to being 6A in football. It's going to be gone altogether.
Yeah, which I don't like. I don't
Unless
like that.
unless they make another division, like they
Yeah.
split it in half.
That's what I said. Split it in half so you could still get the non-conference games in.
Right,
That's
like
what I
college
said.
football has. You'd have
Yeah.
5 and 5, and then you would play, let's just say, all 4 of the same team, the teams that are in the same division every year, and then play 2 or 3 from the other division, and then that would leave space on your schedule. Is that what you guys are
Yep.
saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say more so like if you was to combine the Commonwealth and the Keystone, but make 3 divisions out of those 2 divisions right now, and then you have to add another.
the only problem with that is I hear what you're saying, but I don't think there's enough teams that are capable of competing at the Commonwealth level. That's the only issue.
You ask a Palmyra or and I say this with respect, but we know we followed a Palmyra or a Mifflin County. how they're going to feel about playing like Harrisburg and even
Oh
CD.
no, I was
you know.
saying like they still play each other, but then like the Carlisle, Mechanicsburg, Cedar Cliff, you could probably throw a Redland, make that a league, and then have the Harrisburg East, McDevitt, State College.
I
I
think
don't
that
know, 2 more teams.
I think that the athletic directors, the athletic departments don't care like we do. Like they
Nah,
just
they probably don't
they,
because
they
they
don't
got
want to
sports.
they
Yeah,
don't
they
want to
got
play.
sports.
They just want to play 6A schools for the most part. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because even if you beat a 5A school, it will cost you in the power rankings. So
Right. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. To add to all of the points that was just said, for example, like Chambersburg, they're probably going to be one of the bottom teams in the Commonwealth. They beat Gettysburg, who was one of the teams that was looked at to possibly win the Keystone. So it just tells you, the bottom tier Commonwealth team is just so many levels still above like the other mid-pen conference teams.
Chambersburg would probably win the Keystone, especially with Cedar Cliff and McDevitt
Yeah,
out
when
just
McDevitt
about
out
every
now.
year. I mean, they would probably be the favorite just about every
Yeah,
year because
legit.
they're
I
not
mean,
horrible.
now it's looking like you might be able to put Susquehanna in the Commonwealth.
Man,
Like,
that's a different conversation. I mean,
like,
I would love to see it.
like
I
that
would.
be.
I would like to see them.
Personally.
I would like to see them kind of stay competitive and relevant and strong for a handful of years
Yeah,
before
that's
that
fair.
conversation's even started.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
I say the Keystone.
That's
I say the Keystone.
There's a man who loves his alma mater.
No, I'm just saying. You can turn it up. You can turn it up a little bit.
I get why he's saying that.
No, so do I.
Speaking of Susquehanna, that might be a team that goes undefeated, but we don't
Okay.
know how good they are until they get to the playoffs. Quite honestly.
Yes. So
because
go ahead. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No,
that's all
okay.
I'm saying.
We could transition. I mean,
Well, I like the Penn Hills team though. I thought that team was pretty decent. I know they're 0-2 now though. They are 0-2. They lost to I forgot who they lost to.
Woodland Hills. Woodland Hills is good.
That's not a bad loss for Penn.
It's not a bad loss.
Yeah. That's not a bad loss.
That's not a bad loss. But the Susquehanna win over Penn Hills, that was a real good one, especially for the.
And I think the Trinity game is going to be a test. I do.
So do I.
Ben,
I do too. I was at that game Friday night, East Penn at Trinity, and I was wrong again. I went into Friday night thinking East Penn was probably going to beat Trinity, and McDevitt was probably going to beat Harrisburg. I'll put myself out there. I'm sure there's Harrisburg people watching right now, probably laughing at me. But you know what? I didn't think Harrisburg was going to have it handed to them either. I mean, I don't think they were going to get their butts whooped. But I was wrong Friday night, and Trinity, I think it was 37-14 they won, and they just whooped them on all phases: offense, defense, special teams. They looked more fit, they looked bigger, stronger, not physically like real big, but they just look like guys who have spent the whole off season in the weight room, and the East Penn defenders were bouncing off of the running backs for Trinity. So I think highlight that on your calendar. And I wish I had the date.
That's the last game of the year, I believe.
Is it really?
Last game of the season for those two. I'm pretty
sure. That should be a good one there.
It's set up pretty nice schedule-wise because I'm glad you brought them up because I do think, looking at Susquehanna's remaining schedule, I think if I had to pick a team that could potentially challenge them for the division. So, yes, before I even finish that, I am going to say that I picked Susquehanna to win the Colonial this year, and I picked them last year to win it, but they lost to East Penn, who we're talking about as well. But I knew East Penn coming into this year, they lost a lot from last year's team. So I was curious to see how that game will play out with Trinity. But now that we know the outcome of that, Trinity should be the team to challenge Hannah, I think.
Do you
October 18th.
That one it is? Okay. One of the really great things about Susquehanna Township's win over Penn Hills is that they were down late. They scored their last touchdown with right around 5 minutes to play to go up 36-30, and they held off Penn Hills. Last year, they weren't able to do that. Right. Last year, they lost 3 regular season games by a total of 5 points, 1, 1, and 3. And they had leads in the fourth quarter of all 3 of those games. So I talked to Coach Joe Heaton about that. I interviewed him a couple times during the preseason, and he said that's something we really need to change here. And they did. You know, the first game of the season, they were able to close out a game that they weren't able to last year. But, you know, one of the stories, and you guys are athletes and you follow sports, one of the neatest things I heard Coach Heaton talk about was his team 3 years ago was 0-10. Okay, follow me here, folks. 0-10. Then they went to 6-5, and then 7-4. He said not one player from that 0-10 team quit, and players quit on 10-0 teams. Okay, you know what I mean? Football is a long season, and you get dinged up, and you're not getting the playing time you think you should be getting, and there's all kinds of reasons that players walk away from teams in football more than probably other sports. Not one player from that 0-10 team quit. And I just thought that was a heck of a story, you know, and a lot of them around now, you know, the ones that were freshmen for the 0-10 team are seniors now. So I think he's got something special going there, guys.
He has a lot of talent for sure. A lot of talent. So, yeah, it looked good to me.
Since we were kind of talking about Trinity before we move on, Christian Joy. Do you guys remember Christian Joy?
Yep.
He played last year.
I like him a lot. I like him a lot.
Man,
I liked him last year.
He's tough, man.
Yeah, he's tough.
He's not big. He's kind of like what do they call it? Like a fire plug or whatever. He's just a little guy, but he's strong and he's fast and he's the guy. Go ahead.
I remember him from youth football days back when I used to coach, and we played against his team, and he was a little guy, but he was tough. I was like, who is that kid? And it's funny, he ended up being who he is now to this day. I was like, seeing it back then. He was small, undersized, but he was tough. He was tough.
You know, I want to say, but I'm kind of too bright to say that they don't miss Mickens at all over there, you know, because you got to miss a Messiah Mickens. But man, the way that Joy played, they have a couple other skill position players over there, you know. The way those guys played, Joy had 20 carries for 223 yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground, 2 receptions for 22 yards, and a big interception down the stretch when his team needed it. So everything he did, I mean, they really didn't, even though they won 37-14, the game was close till kind of like 4 or 5 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. So most of his stats came at a time when his team needed it. And I was just impressed. I think that he's one of those guys that's he's going to be fun to watch throughout the season.
I had an opportunity to work with him a little bit this offseason. He came to the gym, and he's a hard worker and he has a good attitude. Like, he'll be a good leader. So I could see a lot of success in the senior year for sure.
So the 4 players, and I didn't really follow around the whole state or even around the whole district, but the 4 individual games that I liked a lot, we already talked about Lewis and Koch. I thought they both played great individual games. And then we just talked about Christian Joy. But, guys, how about Declan Clancy from Manheim Township? Did you guys watch that at all, that little running back? I shouldn't call him little, but
yeah.
He's he kind of reminds me. You guys remember Ryan Palmieri from Pine Richland, the running back who became a quarterback? I think he wore like number 20 or number 25 when they beat Imhotep a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yep.
Declan Clancy kind of reminds me of him.
Didn't he return something?
Yeah, he was starting running back last year, wasn't
Clancy?
he? Yeah. Was he?
Oh, yeah, he was the running
yes,
back.
I thought. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, he returned.
I just think he got stronger and faster. And, I mean, he's just a beast. He's just, you look at him, you're going, that's a football player. You know what I mean? 30 carries for 241 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 receptions for 10 yards. I mean, he's their stud on offense. And they have a new quarterback. Of course, their quarterback, I think he's somewhere Ivy League now, Division I.
He's Lehigh or something. He's
starting.
Right. He's starting, yeah.
Yep.
Starting up there?
I'm pretty sure as a freshman.
Yeah.
That guy was good, man. Yeah, he's good.
He could play.
I don't remember the new quarterback's name, but Coach Evans was kind of had. You got anybody watch that game?
I
I
didn't
watched
watch
some
it.
of it.
Evans was letting them throw the ball across the middle and take kind of risks, and that was a big game. Nobody knew going in, unless Manheim Township did, but none of us knew that they were going to win like that. It was a 28-10 game, and he called off the dogs. They could have scored another touchdown or two easily.
But you got to remember, historically says when Central York plays outside of York against a quality team, they
don't
tend to
do
give
so.
up a lot of yards. They give up a lot of yards.
Their
Yep.
calling card is not defense usually.
They give up
Okay,
a
Nope.
lot
let's
of
put it
yards
that
when
way.
they step outside of York.
Yeah,
I think the entire York Adams League has that problem.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
My friend Steve Little, he's a principal down there at York High. I don't know if he's watching this or not, so I'm going to watch what I say. But yeah, it's when York High, William Penn, and except for the year Pabula was a senior when they went to the state championship. That was kind of a special team.
That was the COVID year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it the COVID year? They were very good though. They had a
They beat
bunch
Central
of D1
Dolphin. They
players.
beat Central Dolphin at Central Dolphin. No, they beat Central Dolphin in the playoffs
Yeah.
that year.
Harrisburg didn't
Early,
get
though,
a chance
wasn't
that
it?
year.
No.
Harrisburg
Yeah.
didn't get a chance that year.
I know. I just had this conversation with somebody else. I thought they were really good though. They had a
They were good. They were
boatload
good.
of D1 talent
them.
on both
They were
sides of the
really
ball. But other than that year, once it's time to play some of the, well, let's just say Harrisburg for one, or Manheim Township. Harrisburg and Manheim Township to me are the kind of the two elite teams. Harrisburg first, of course, they've won 3 in a row. Those York County teams just kind of.
Well, I like Wilson. Wilson, you can't sleep on Wilson either. They usually be
A
pretty good.
solid program, always.
Outside of Manheim Township and Harrisburg.
Yeah, but I think it's clear 1 and 2. That's pretty much the calling card. Everyone's playing catch up to those two.
Right. And there's no. I think that Evans has 87 players on his roster. Now that's freshman to varsity, but still, that's a lot of players. Now that doesn't mean 40 of them can be not that good or really young or whatever.
50 of them.
Yeah. But the point is, he's got guys going out for football down there.
Yes, building a successful program.
Yeah, exactly. Any other mid-pen before we move around to outside of the Harrisburg area? Any other mid-pen games you guys want to discuss or that you watched or heard about?
That still high score kind of surprised me.
Okay, so that didn't really surprise me.
Okay,
that didn't really surprise me. The only reason I say that is because we all know Still High, the group that they had, that run that they had for 4 years. This team this year that they have, is not on the same caliber as that team.
Nowhere close.
Nowhere close. They still have some talent there, but we all knew at some point that 28-game winning streak that they were on was going to come to an end. And me personally, Juniata, I kind of circled that game as the one only because I knew Juniata last year had a nice little run in the state playoffs. I'm not, sure if too many people know that, but they returned a lot from their team from last year, and they believe that they can go on a deeper run than what they did last year. So I thought that would be the game that Still High would probably lose. But 28-14, that's not too bad.
They got, who's that receiver? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Juniata, don't they have a really good receiver? Plays both ways, good D back too.
Yeah, I can't think of his name right now, but yeah, he plays both ways. That's kind of like their guy. They want to get him the ball any way possible, multiple different ways. But yeah,
will Steel High's other challenging game be Twin Valley? Is it Twin Valley? Who's the other?
They play Susquehanna as well.
They play Susquehanna.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be challenging. I was trying to think of. Let me see. Capital Division, Line Mountain. I'm sorry, Line Mountain. Will that be a tough game for Steel High?
It will be. Like Terry said, these are new kids. Some of them played, but these kids literally that graduated 2024. They literally played. It wasn't like they were freshmen. They were on the team. They played. They were their core team. They were their stars. in since they were freshmen. So
Right.
you know, you're at a single A program. You can't. I mean, they moved them up to double A, but they are a single A program. It's hard to replace that.
I love Coach Irby's kind of attitude. When I asked him, I said, are things going to be different this year in the way that you guys approach games and your, kind of what your expectations and what you're anticipating for the. He said, absolutely. Because a lot of coaches will say, no, next man up, and you just have to. He said, there's no doubt about it. He said, my personnel's altogether different. They're younger, they're less experienced, and yeah, he said we have to have a different approach this year. So, are they going to lose probably another game or two? Certainly. I mean, it's going to be tough. I think Travis, you said you don't like the Susquehanna Township Steel High game, right?
No, I just Susquehanna Township shouldn't be playing a single A team. That's just,
Yeah.
that's just not. That's just not. You know, I don't think that helps anyone. It doesn't look good. It just,
And you know what's kind of odd? I think we talked about this last week, Travis, that in other seasons it would have been Steel High's probably game to win, or they probably would have won. But now Steel High is a lot younger. Susquehanna Township's a lot better. So Susquehanna Township has the benefit of the things kind of going in their direction this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the timing of the game was, not the best. A year too late for sure, because Susquehanna, like I said, like Ben said it earlier, despite everything that the program's been through last few years, they have talent.
Yeah,
and I think it's being well showcased this year for sure.
But I wouldn't sleep on Irby though. I wouldn't count Irby out yet.
No, you definitely can't.
Give him a week to prepare. I wouldn't count that man out yet.
No, his guy
3 out of 4 state titles for a reason.
Yeah, his guys will be ready to play. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they're looking forward to that game in particular, for sure.
So what about Hershey? Hershey, a lot of people thought was going to either them or maybe Lower Dolphin in the Keystone. They lost to Shippensburg 28-13. Did you guys kind of expect a little more out of Hershey? Does anybody follow them at all?
I know they have a good corner, the Sweeney kid.
Sweeney,
he can play. Yeah, he can play, but I can't really tell you not one other player they have.
Yeah, I knew Hershey was a popular pick to possibly contend.
Right.
But Shippensburg is one of those programs that I don't know if not too many people follow, but they should know that they have a solid program. Outside of last year, which was kind of like a down year for them, the previous years before that, they were good. They had some really good teams. Like they had a really good player in Anthony Smith, who's at Minnesota, big time D1 recruit. So I mean, the score being 28-13 kind of did surprise me, because I didn't think that Shippensburg was going to improve that much this year. But I guess they're saying, hey, we're back. We only took 1 year off.
Right. And then Mifflin County, of course, they got like high hopes up there, and I know this isn't.
That's your boy Dave Berman.
Man.
he would ride them no matter what. No matter what.
I told him this morning on the phone or yesterday when he was kind of hyping up Mifflin County. I said, "Okay, Dave, you're wrong." I said, I don't know what else to say about it.
They're getting a new stadium. The new stadium's coming.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
They lost to Northern York, and I don't think this is one of the better Northern York teams. So Hempfield over York High.
That surprised me. I work down there.
You're a York guy, yeah.
That surprised me a little bit, but York's young. They are very young.
What was the score in that game?
27-6.
It wasn't close.
I see Coach Stoner kind of putting out a plea to the community that I guess people are kind of getting down on them already, the team. And
that's expected.
Yeah,
I mean that's what happens. I mean, when you win,
that's what happens.
You get the love. When you lose, you go have to feel it. It comes with the territory.
It comes with it. It does.
That's exactly what I was thinking, man. You can't. It's not like a tap. You can't turn that on and off like a tap. People are going to get upset. and when you're winning, they're going to get happy and they're going to praise you and they're going to support you more. Just losing's no fun, you know.
That's a young team though, and
Yeah,
you have to
right.
be patient when you have
The problem,
everybody can't just reload. Sometimes you have to rebuild.
Right. Yeah.
agreed. The problem is down there though in York is that they see Central York. York High feels as though they can be them, but they're not,
Right.
and that's the problem. That's why I think personally, like the fans get upset when they're starting off 0-2.
Central York's one of the best sports schools in the state now. They just are.
Yeah, they
And
won states
Yeah,
in basketball.
it
That's
solidified
boys-
that.
boys
solidified
sports,
that.
girls sports, across the board, like down to volleyball and all that. Yeah, they won that. They won states in boys basketball last year. I mean, that's
6A.
just a very good sport. Yeah, 6A. That's another Manheim Township, Cumberland Valley. I mean, North Allegheny and to me is like the king. You know, they kind of win the most when talking state championships. But
Oh yeah,
it's hard to keep up with Central York if you're down there in York County. I mean, Dallastown cries. They had some good sports programs. They won 28-0 over Penn Manor. Can Dallastown? How are they going to measure up to Central York? You guys?
Well, see, Dallas they got their line. They have about 2 or 3 D1 guys in their on their O line.
Yes.
Yeah, they
and
do.
they got the Michael Scott kid, so they got enough. But that York, they all fight for players too, just like the Mid Penn, like Central York. They got some transfers coming in from York City.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's all they're all fighting for kids. So whoever can pluck them the most at the right time is going to be up.
right.
You know who
But
doesn't pluck them around our area? I don't see like Cumberland Valley and Central Dauphin. I think Central Dauphin's been getting plucked. Okay, we know that, right? They've
Yeah,
been getting plucked. I think Cumberland Valley, it's like a net nothing. I don't think they bring kids in, and I don't think they lose kids. Maybe now and then to Trinity, because it's hard to start at a school with 3,500 or 1,700 boys, but Harrisburg, obviously, Cal does a good job with attracting players.
well, from what I'm hearing, LCD, they saying that all the players are playing other sports. Like they're all
That,
playing
Yep.
lacrosse.
it's
Yeah,
definitely happening.
Yeah, I don't think they're
And
losing kids. That's not because I don't personally. I don't think it's because they're losing kids. And
Yeah, I think they had their roster's like mid-30s or something. Like Harrisburg's is a lot of years, but Harrisburg's 35 kids. 25 of them are really high quality athletes. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if you don't have many, as long as they're good.
yeah, all you need is what 22.
Yeah, and
yeah.
you don't. Central Dauphin is again. They're a very good sports school. Last year, their soccer won girls soccer, girls basketball, and softball all won district championships. That's strong. It's 3 different sports seasons. They're not the sports that I'm going to use the term sexy again. They're not the sexy sports like football and basketball. But Coach Wayne Fletcher's turning that boys basketball program around. I think that the Mid-Penn Commonwealth for boys basketball is just tough to penetrate right now. I mean, I know we're talking football, but Cumberland Valley is going to be really good again, and I think Carlisle and Chambersburg. So
so comparatively speaking, because I think overall the basketball is not as good as it was 10 or 15 years.
not a
I think
chance.
it's not even close.
I think
Some
compared to
people
how
say
it
the
was a few
Keystone
years
better than
ago,
the Commonwealth. They're saying the
Yeah,
Keystone may be better than Commonwealth right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
None of the teams I've seen the last few years in the Commonwealth would have been in top 5 of teams 10 years
Well,
ago.
Cumberland Valley, I think, was as good as Central York this year. Central York just got hot at the end. They won the games down the stretch when they needed to. I think he's doing some special things over there at Cumberland Valley.
I say their basketball team is definitely farther along than their football team.
Yeah, I think their football teams.
That's I can't even believe I'm saying that about Cumberland Valley.
I think the football
Yeah, I
program's
know.
losing
That sounds crazy.
players too to other sports.
So they have a. So I know I used to do some stuff with Cumberland Valley's former superintendent, and they have a changing demographic over there, where some of those kids are just into different things other than football because you just have a changing demographic with what their interests are.
I think this is for another show, and I definitely want to do a show on this. But I think a lot of the suburban programs, schools are losing potential players to the parents don't want them playing because of brain injuries, because of CTE. And you can
I think that's a real
Google
thing.
that and it'll show you that that it's a fact. A lot of times the kids from the kind of economically challenged households, it might be their only way into college. Okay. If little Johnny from Cumberland Valley or Cedar Cliff or Lower Dolphin doesn't play football, we could still get him into college. So you guys think that's a thing at all?
I think the concussion movie, I think that really played a role in a lot,
Yeah.
especially like if a father's not around or however it goes, the kid might just live with the mom. And if she saw that movie, 9 times out of 10, if she wasn't an athlete, you might not be playing football. Like you might not play young, and then you grow up not playing, and you don't realize it's fun.
Right.
Even outside of CTE, we had a couple kids that actually died playing football this in week 1. So.
Yeah, it's a different kind of sport, that's for sure. How about this was interesting? Aliquippa 12, Bell Vernon 0, and the game was called, I believe, in the first quarter because of weather. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, I did. So
I know they're in the weather.
What a great matchup! You know,
I wanted to bring that up because I have a couple guys that out towards that way, but follow Aliquippa, and they were complaining. they were upset because they just didn't understand. They get it, what calling the game because of the weather, or whatever, but to plead that game is going to be a no contest, like it doesn't count, and they're not making it up, is crazy.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't know that was the case.
Yeah, like what is the reason for that?
When could they make it up? I'm just being the voice of reason here. When you have to play a game every week for the next however 8 weeks and then go straight into districts, where would they put that game?
Well, that game was played on Friday, right? So they could have played it Saturday. They could have played it Sunday.
Or Monday.
Monday.
That I agree
had a
with.
holiday.
Yeah, that I agree with. So you're saying get it done within the next couple of days, not try to add it later in the season. Yeah.
Like they were up 12-0 with 1:20 left in their first quarter.
Yeah.
I think that is a fair enough to at least say, okay, we can finish it from this point. I could see if it was like, only a minute or two off the game. All right, we're just going to call it. We're not making it up. No, nothing. Right. Fine.
I agree 100%.
They could have finished that game. Remember, now they didn't start. They didn't start, but Harrisburg and Manheim Township last year was a Friday night game. Harrisburg had to roll back down 283, then come back and actually play in the morning at Manheim last year. So they could have. Yeah, it was a Friday game.
Somebody didn't want to do it. I mean,
clearly.
I think we know who didn't want to do it.
They saying they were just scared. Like they just didn't want. They said it was going to get bad, and they just didn't want to.
And what a matchup, though. At least on paper, I mean, you got two defending state champion teams. But Bell Vernon was moved up to 4A, correct?
Yes.
So they'll see each other. They'll see each other.
They should. Yeah. They should see each other again.
So I'm guessing that was Bell Vernon's point, but Aliquippa was not going for that. They were like, "Nah, man, that's crazy." But I agree with them. That is crazy. Like, I just don't get that.
How about Pitt Central Catholic 0-2, lost to Pine Richland.
Pine Richland, one of those
Pine
programs,
Richland, right? Yeah,
one of those programs. You can't. I mean,
they can play 6A.
They can. I mean, they proved it.
Well, they won 6A in 2017. They beat St. Joe's Prep. Yeah. So Pitt Central Catholic, Eric Thomas, he was supposed to be on the show last week with Travis and I did it ourselves. But the one note that he left me, he's like, don't read into the Pitt Central Catholic loss too much, because whoever they lost to in week 1 was really good.
Yeah, they lost to St. Francis. They're like comparable to
out-of-state team, right?
Yeah, they're like comparable to like an IMG.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that I understand.
If not better.
Yeah, if not better. Right.
What a gauntlet right out of the gate to go from St. Francis to Pine Richland. I mean, that's a tough start for. So I would say again, without really having a whole lot of background on it, I wouldn't give up on Pitt Central Catholic yet. There's 8 games left. I think it's going to be either them or North Allegheny again. Do you guys know?
When's the last time Pitt Central Catholic was actually relevant in December?
They were relevant when they got that touchdown pass thrown. Marvin Harrison Jr. caught that touchdown pass in the very back corner of the end zone.
Oh yeah.
Terry Howe. That was about 4 years ago, maybe. Was that 4 years ago? Maybe.
Yeah, it had to be.
I think that might be right. That
Because
sounds
Marvin
about
Harrison's
right.
a rookie now.
I mean,
so
they
he
were
had
they
that-
were that close to closing that game out. But I since then I haven't seen them, get that far in the states.
Yeah, and from what I understand from them, they feel as though, I mean, the talent's there. They have the talent. I mean, last year alone, as far as like Division One recruits, they were up there
A lot.
numbers wise with like some of the better teams in the state, like a St. Joe's Prep, Imhotep. They
Right.
had comparable numbers to them,
Correct.
but for some reason, they just couldn't get over the hump.
Right.
And I think it is starting to become a little problem. Whatever's going on out there, I don't know what it is, but people are starting to take notice to it.
Right. What about LaSalle College? Another big win for them over Interac. Interac, Malvern Prep. Interac means they're not part of the PIAA. They kind of operate under different conditions and rules, but a lot of them. Yeah, a lot of those District 1 and District 12 teams do play some Interac teams, but Malvern Prep is a perennial kind of power, and LaSalle College beat them 21-17. I think LaSalle College is kind of trying to.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
They're legit. Remember, I've been saying it before the season started.
You have. When
They're legit.
I watched them take the field last. So here I am again. This is how bad I am. I mean, I know it to talk about it, but as far as predictions can be tough sometimes. And when I saw them take the field against Harrisburg last week, I was like, man, this team's in trouble. and they win by 38.
Yeah, and they got like 10 D1 guys.
They're not like huge up front. They great technique up front. Did you think who was at the game last week? I was there. I didn't think that they were really big up front. They didn't have like the 6'4", 285 guys and.
They had their left tackle. I think it was a left tackle was pretty big, but they're bigger than McDevitt up front.
Are they bigger than McDevitt?
I was surprised. I didn't think McDevitt was that big up front, but they were bigger than McDevitt. And of course, well coached.
That brand new coach.
A quarterback could throw the ball. Two really good receivers who run outstanding routes.
Yeah, the receivers are legit. They're D1 guys. The
quarterback's D1 guy.
Quarterback's D1. They're legit. They got a couple guys on defense that are D1. Like I said, they're good.
I realized quickly that I was wrong, and it wasn't even the game hadn't got out of hand by the time I said to the guy I was with, I was like, "This team's really, really good." But have we ever seen like one district being District 12 here with St. Joe's Prep, LaSalle College, and Roman have three teams at the top like that?
Imhotep.
Imhotep. I'm sorry, Roman 5A. I meant Imhotep. Yeah.
Imhotep 6A, but
they're
not in the PCL. But
only one of them can come out.
Only one. Yeah.
LaSalle, Imhotep, or St. Joe's Prep.
Yeah.
It's going to be a war. It's going to be a dogfight, man. It's going to be a dogfight. And also, I just want to make note that I'm glad you brought that up. So right now, the PCL, they believe that they're going to win 6A. They believe that they're going to win 5A. And they do believe they're going to win 4A too.
Is that Pope John Paul in 4A? Who's the 4A?
Bonner.
What?
Bonner.
Oh, is Bonner 4A now?
Yeah, they're 4A. So there's a lot of
hype.
Bonner Reddy's usually pretty good.
Bonner beat Archbishop Ryan 42-14. That was their first game of the season. That just moved them to 1-0. Pope John Paul beat Newman Goretti 18-0. They're 4A, and that's
Newman must not be. Newman's 3A, I think.
Pope John Paul though is District 1, I believe.
They're District 1. Yep.
Yeah,
they're District 1.
So that I saw your post on that, Terry. That they think they might be able to sweep all three of them.
Yeah, they really think that they can do it. But I mean, I'm still gonna put 4A as going through Aliquippa. That's just I think. But 5A Roman, whew.
And 3A Goretti's always there.
Pine Richland too. Don't forget about them.
Yeah.
It's almost always strong's gonna come out of Western. That's
Then McDevitt might turn it up a little bit. So who knows?
Do you guys have time to just try to go down from 6A down to 1A and just kind of chat for a minute or two on each one? Let's talk about 6A. St. Joe's Prep lost to St. Edward. I don't put a whole lot of stock into that. I mean,
Nope.
I don't know anything
Ohio,
about St.
Ohio
Edwards.
State Power. They're Ohio State champ, state power, nationally known program. It's not a bad loss.
they came back at the end a little bit. They lost 35-21. They were down bigger than that. Again, Pitt Central Catholic, another team that lost. Central York, no surprise there. They were ranked 8th. And then Springford got blown out by Easton 49-7.
Yes, so I did want to talk about that a little bit because nobody seen that coming. Nobody.
Wait, who got
Nobody
blown
seen
out?
that coming. Springford.
It's a really good District 1 program.
Yeah, no one seen that coming. Easton got a District 11. They were able to turn over the 5-star quarterback that Springford has. They turned him over multiple times.
Where's he going?
He's going to Missouri.
Oh, he's good then.
Yeah, he's good. He's legit. He's a 5-star.
So I picked Harrisburg to go to the state championship at the beginning of the season, and I kind of didn't veer after the first game. I really didn't say anything. I just figured we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. So I'm back on the bus. Okay. I never got off. I was kind of hanging off a little bit, but
If Kevin Brown's able to make it back, and Lewis keeps progressing, Harrisburg could be in a state championship game.
I think you have to, like we talked about with the Chiefs earlier. I think with St. Joe's Prep, I'm going to stick with them. I keep hearing people say Imhotep's better, LaSalle might be better. You got to beat the champ to be the champ.
Absolutely,
Till you beat 'em.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
one thing I will say and point out that what LaSalle and
Imhotep.
well, not even Imhotep, because I'm not sure about their situation either, but LaSalle and Roman for sure. When it comes to the PCL play, both of them have the quarterback advantage over St. Joe's Prep. So if there is a downside to St. Joe Prep this year, it's a quarterback play. The quarterback play, that's a work in progress still for them. It's a long season, so the kid can get better, of course. But right now they're a little vulnerable in that position, and that's as we know, quarterback. It can make or break you.
Absolutely. Penn Hills just won a state championship a handful of years ago, and that had like everything to do with their quarterback. I forget his name. Remember that? They beat Manheim Central.
Who?
Penn Hills.
Oh yes.
Remember that?
the
That
kid
was
from
probably 5 or 6 years ago now. But man, you're talking quarterbacks. That team won a state championship because they had an elite quarterback. you
Yep.
know?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, I forget that kid's name.
Yeah, he was D1. I forget where he ended up going, but okay. How about 5A? We got again Roman. The 2 losses were McDevitt and Manheim Central. We've already talked about. We touched on the Manheim Central. They lost big. They lost by 17 to Ephrata. But Roman won big against St. John's College from DC.
National power. That's
Yeah.
a big win.
And then you got Peters Township, who lost in the state championship game to Imhotep last year. They're back. They beat McKeesport, ranked number 5 in 4A. They beat them 42-7. Chester has a big one. They beat West Philly 33-8. Chester plays Imhotep this weekend.
Yeah, that's
Man.
that. I'm curious to see how that's going to turn out. I mean, I think Imhotep's going to be favored, of course, but I'm curious to see what Chester can do in that game.
They keep, to me, I follow Chester a little bit because I watch their live streams and I talk to Dave Berman a lot. He's a big Chester fan and supporter. He's from Delaware County down there. They're kind of inching along, like we talked about Susquehanna Township is. And I'm not comparing the 2 programs, but Susquehanna Township keeps getting just a little bit better. That's what Chester's been doing over the last few years, and I think they're kind of ready to come out and make more of a statement this year. They have state championship on their mind, but we'll see. This is going to be a good gauge.
We'll see a lot. We'll see a lot when they play.
We'll see a lot. And I don't know if any of these other, we got Cathedral Prep and Strathaven and I think when we talk 5A, and hopefully we can all get together every Sunday or as many Sundays as possible. But I think the theme of this is going to be Roman Catholic, Peters Township. I think McDevitt's going to be okay. I really do.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think McDevitt will be fine. I think we talked about our group that we are all in on Facebook, the Pennsylvania High School Football Forum. And we were talking about the Philly schools and Roman Catholic 5A, blah blah blah. But I had to remind them because they were like basically saying that they want to continue to be dominant at 6A and 5A, and I was like, wait, y'all haven't been dominant at 5A. Yes, Imhotep has gotten to the championship game, but the District 7 teams have been beating them. So you can't
Pine
really
Richland,
Pine
dissected them.
Richland, yes. So it's still technically District 7 really runs 5A still. So you can't just forget about what District 7 could possibly have out there.
There's only Peters Township from District 7 is in the top 10 in 5A. That's kind of surprising. But I would imagine you're going to have
Pine Richland probably.
They're going to move. They got to move up after that win. So how about 4A Aliquippa again? They didn't finish their game, but they probably would have been a convincing win over Bell Vernon. They're ranked number 1. Why a missing loss to Haverford, another Interact school. They're just moving up to 4A this year, but I don't know, man.
They beat Southern Columbia last week.
Yep.
Why I'm missing? Yeah, I think it was 28-14, maybe something like that. But
yeah.
I kind of think it's going to be hard to dethrone Aliquippa.
It's going to be tough. They're still my favorite to do it.
Yeah, I think what we'll do here in the next maybe midway through is we'll kind of all get our top in each classification and kind of throw it out there, and then I don't want to do that every week because there's too much other stuff to talk about. But we'll wait 2 or 3 weeks and then we'll kind of look at around the state at who we like from that point on. We'll move to 3A here. Anybody know anything about Danville out of District 4? Terry, if anybody would, it would be you.
To be honest, I don't know too much about Danville. I just know that they run a good program there. And,
yeah.
I do know that they are expected to be in the hunt for a 3A title.
Scranton Prep, they beat Loyola Blakefield out of somewhere in Maryland. They beat them 26-20. I hear Northwestern Lehigh. Remember I said this. Northwestern Lehigh, I heard, is really, really good. And they lost to Bell Vernon last year. Was it the championship game or semifinals?
Championship game? Yeah,
I think it was the championship.
Yeah,
they lost big too. They got blown out. But I heard they have a lot of players back from last year's team. So
they do. So I'm glad you mentioned them because they're another pick to potentially get back to the game as well.
Right. And then you got Goretti. They're always in the mix, So Central Valley, they're 0-2 now. They lost to Thomas Jefferson 27-13. Yeah, I don't know. And they're a perennial. They're a power.
They're a power.
Yeah.
And coming into the season, that was my pick to win it. Like you said, they're starting off 0-2. Not really sure what's going on with that, but I still think when it's all said and done, they will be in the mix, I think.
Yeah, well, you have 8 games left, man. There's so much time left to get better. If you stay healthy and the other teams don't, and there's so much can happen. 2A, I'm hearing Troy's pretty good. They beat Dover 8-3 yesterday. That's kind of an odd score, but what do we know about Troy out of District 4? Danville and Troy are both number 1 in the state in 3A and 2A. They're both District 4 teams. Has anybody seen Troy?
I haven't seen them.
No, I don't know too much about Troy.
But they're going to play Southern Columbia, I would think. They're both District 4 teams.
Yep. Yeah. I think last year when they played, I think it was a fairly close game. So that's kind of like because they're in the same district, I believe, too.
It was
So
a
that's
touchdown game last year, which is fairly close.
fairly close
I
considering
think so.
Southern Columbia.
Yeah, considering you're playing the state champion. Yeah, yeah. So
But
yeah, that is.
yeah. But same thing about Southern Columbia. I think it still runs through them until someone beats them. But
I
people from that area keep saying they think this is the year where they finally lose. But I'm like, I don't believe y'all because y'all said that last year.
right.
Until
And
they
y'all
get
still
beat.
won.
Until they get beat.
And y'all still won. So I don't
Yeah, we
believe
already
y'all.
said it about the Chiefs, St. Joe's Prep, and Aliquippa. So let's just add Southern Columbia to that list.
Absolutely.
Beat the champ to be the champ. And then 1A is I think it's kind of spread out to the point where it's not real easy to pick a team out of 1A. We have Fort Cherry, we have Bishop Guilfoyle. We'll see how Westinghouse is able to play. They lost Travis. What's that young man's name?
Yeah, I don't remember his name. The young man that he got hurt in practice, I believe.
Yeah.
back, D1, a high D1
Yeah,
D
yeah,
back.
big time
He's done
D-run
for the
recruit.
year.
Yeah, he's done for the year.
Done for
That's
the
a
year.
tough one.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
especially after that loss last year to Southern Columbia, Westinghouse coming in with like really high hopes this
Yeah.
year. And I mean, I would have rooted for him, you know.
That win against Westinghouse exactly why I say until someone beats them with them every year, because even when they're supposed to, when they should have lost, they win. So
yeah.
Another team out in the WPU out that way, Clareton and Single A, they be like they're back. So I think it would be a team.
That's who Steel High beat in 08, I believe. They beat Sarah Catholic in 07, and then they beat Clareton, and then Clareton won it the next year, and maybe 2 years in a row or
yeah, Tyler Boyd years.
Yeah. So I think we covered a lot here today, fellas. I didn't know how much we were going to get to after talking about Harrisburg and McDevitt, but again, I just want to I don't know, congratulate Coach Cal and his guys. You know, I guess congratulations are in order. That was a big win. We just said a couple of minutes ago, we think that McDevitt will be fine. You know, as long as you get out of there healthy and you take advantage of watching some film and say, you know, and McDevitt's not going to play a lot of teams as good as Harrisburg. Let's face it. I don't in the regular season, they're probably not going to play another one, depending on how good East and State College are. But,
Right.
you know, and even once they get into states, as long as they win districts, they're probably not going to face anybody until close to the end. I think they would have to face Roman in the semifinals.
No, because
did they switch that up?
It would be potentially the championship game because Cocalico, who's been the 5A winner, they've lost to the Peters Township. So Peters Township.
That crazy game.
Yeah.
Oh, that stop at the very end last year. Boy, that was a heck of a game.
So yeah, that would be the potential matchup, Roman versus McDevitt for the 5A, which I would love to see it. But you know, it's a long way to that point.
We got a lot of good football to watch here in the next 8 weeks plus. All right, fellas. Well, I really appreciate it. I think we got a lot accomplished there. Ben Dupree, Travis Waters, Terry Clark Jr. Terry, keep doing what you're doing, man. You do a great job on that. I have it written down. I'm on it every day, but I always forget. Pennsylvania High School Football Forum.
Yes.
Please, if you're a Facebook person, even if you're not into Facebook, like your own page or whatever, you just get tired of the politics and all the arguing, and you like high school sports, you know, then don't do your own page, but get on this Pennsylvania High School Football Forum because Terry does a great job, and you kind of keep the peace on there. You know, you get a couple knuckleheads now and then.
Yeah,
but,
you do.
But
that's why we had to get rid of the anonymous because it was starting to get crazy when it came back on. I was like, nah, you got to take that off.
I didn't like the knock.
I don't like it either in general. Yeah, it is crazy. So I was like, nah, we're not going to do that because people's going to get in here and say crazy stuff. So
Ben, welcome back. I didn't forget about you. Once basketball starts, it seems like a eons away at this point. You know, we're definitely not.
Yeah, I'm not worried about no basketball right now.
No, but
football
you're,
only, right?
you're
football only.
still
No
on
more
my
looking at
short list
basketball.
for basketball.
Football season.
And Travis, we're going to do another. I don't know if you talked to Dom Commodore. We're going to try to put a show together, the three of us and one more. We're going to talk about kind of the challenges of coaches and educators these days. We're going to try to get smart, put our brains on a little bit, and get away from X's and O's, and talk about the different challenges, the inner city challenges, the suburban challenges, because they both have challenges, different sets. So we want to do a podcast on that. And I'd love to. I'm inviting you right now to join.
That'd be great, because I have some feelings about that, having coached.
It's
different. It's coaching. I think urban football was in a decline for a while. You see some of these teams coming back. It's this tough coaching. It's not always X's and O's with some of the other coaches dealing with. It's just a lot more than X's and O's at times.
And it's different sets of challenges. I'm friends with Dwan Lee, and I know we're trying to wrap things up here, but it's worth talking about. And I have friends that coach out in the suburbs, Central Dauphin and Cumberland Valley, and I'm friends with Dwan Lee. And I remember years ago when he was still coaching the Harrisburg girls, I said, boy, that's got to be challenging with those parents. And he goes, Joe, they don't give me any problems at all. He said, these girls' parents are just so happy that I'm spending 2 hours with their kid every day, from 3:30 or 4 o'clock to 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And then you go out to the suburbs and it's altogether different. The parents kind of puff their chests out a little bit. They know more than the coaches. They think because they spend more money and AAU and whatever. So that's what we're going to talk about, Travis, in this podcast coming up in a couple of weeks. I want to get a couple Jimmy Jones done, and then hopefully Cal and his guys. But I'd love to have you join us. That's going to be one of those things that you're going to know a whole lot more than I do about the topic. So, fellas, thank you very much.
No problem.
You're gonna get an ongoing invitation. I know that we all have busy lives and stuff like that, but I'll make sure you guys are invited. And we usually do Sundays at 6. Okay, that way if you have stuff to do in the afternoon. But you guys are my regular crew of expert analysts at this point. And so Jimmy Jones on Tuesday, folks, 7 o'clock. There's not anybody out of the Harrisburg area more legendary than Jimmy Jones for a lot of reasons, for what he accomplished on the field, for what he dealt with off the field. And I'm just excited to have that chance. So let me thank my sponsors here before we wrap up. And Dan Rickabaugh, I don't know if you're still with us here, but Rickabaugh's Electric, one of our top sponsors. We appreciate your support. Pay Your Apparel, Larry Bragg. I'm going to get all 3 of your T-shirt sizes. Text them to me. I'll make sure you get a Pay Your Apparel T-shirt from Larry Bragg in the color that you choose. Ted's Bar and Grill, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Tonino's Pizza, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, Team PA AU Basketball, thanks to Greg Cavoli, Sam Hartley Decking, American Legion Post 272, Hoffman Ford, Tire Mart, Modern Imprint, Capital Region Insurance Agency, and Underdog. So for Terry, Ben, and Travis, I'm Joe Gillaway. Thank you.